back to stage 2, where we continue our action from round 2 of the UK Open. We're about to welcome a man who reached the final of a Pro Tour last year, Matt Campbell. He's already reached the semi-finals of one in 2023, and he's up against a player who, for most of us, we know relatively little about. Christopher Holt was one of the development tour qualifiers. He reached the final in that tour last year, losing to Bradley Brooks. He had a steady year, which ultimately enabled him to get to the UK Open, and he's already beaten Danny Van Tripe in round 1, so he will walk away from here with some prize money to his name. But Matt Campbell, towards the back end of last year, was becoming one of the most improved players. He's in the second year of his tour card. With the amount of prize money that he won last year, you would expect him to retain that card quite comfortably going into 2024. So still in the stage of his darting career where no prize money is being knocked off. He can only accumulate, and I think, Paul Nicholson, this one looks like more of a straightforward type. If I was to predict going to stage 2, I'd expect Matt Campbell to win this one.
I would too. I would wholeheartedly back you there, Dan, against a man who obviously likes green. I don't know whether he's a lantern or a goblin kind of guy, but he's very much about the black and green against the man who's all about the ginger. That is a brilliant dart shirt. Look at that on the back. That's a brilliant design. I applaud that kind of thing. But what I do applaud are players who can get themselves a win at a UK Open and take full advantage of their invitation. Holt, not well known by many people, got himself in the top 8 of the Order of Merit to get here. I'm sure that will have been one of his goals in 2022, but now that he's still in the tournament, he wants to be a thorn in the side of the Canadian and potentially other people as well.
Yeah, victory for Matt Campbell here would set up. We've seen a Polish derby, a Northern Irish derby, a Canadian derby against his World Cup partner Jeff Smith, so plenty of narrative there. Christopher Holt's going to want to try and ruin that. Is he going to go for the bull? He does. Wow, doesn't lack confidence.
No, he doesn't. Get a shot, see a shot, take a shot. That's what I like to see about things like that. When these darts are thrown, they stay thrown.
9 score.
Yeah, quite an intricate design by the looks of it on his arrows. Bit of a ridge in the middle for grip purposes.
Yeah, that's an old Simon Whitlock dart.
Christopher, you require
Used to be used by Connor Scott as well, who's in this tournament. It's a 1-0 lead for Holt on a board that's already seen the back of Bolt.
Well, Christopher Holt so far doing his best to dispel the pre-match predictions.
We've talked about different intricacies with throwing technique and maybe injuries in the future. Look at the right wrist of Christopher Holt when he delivers these darts. Talk about flexibility.
64.
This right wrist goes down and to his right. It's all over the place.
59.
It's like one of those circus people that know how to dislocate their own limbs. In a really good darting sense.
90.
One thing's for sure, when he throws them, they've got some force, but that wrist is just going the wrong way for me.
100.
But it's natural to him, and he has to do what is intrinsic for him. Not everybody can be as smooth and
83.
technical as a Matt Campbell or potentially as a Luke Littler, for instance, or a Kevin Dutz. Every now and again, seeing a throw that's just a little bit different is good.
It's good for the sport as well. You don't want everyone to look like robots, and Christopher Holt, well, he's certainly got his own idiosyncrasies with that wrist movement.
85.
He could have a 2-0 lead here.
152.
152.
100.
Well, it's an aggressive throw. I think
You
we'll give him
require
that.
90.
With a capital A.
In bold.
In bold for Holt.
52.
What is good for him is possibly a 2-0 lead.
52.
He's missed a single.
32.
That's a wild miss at tops.
That you require 40.
This is quite a fast-paced game, and it's double 5 for Campbell.
30.
And I just get the feeling that
Christopher, you
maybe it's a
require
bit
20.
too quick for Matt. He's been drawn into this game.
Game
Five for
shot in the
Christopher Holt.
second
No
leg.
problem there.
Christopher Holt.
Well, I've got to admit,
Third
this is
leg,
only the
Christopher
second
the
leg I've ever
first.
seen
Game
Christopher Holt
on.
play, and I get the distinct impression that he can either be very, very, very good or quite wild. That's very, very, very good.
I'll tell you what helps with that. Adrenaline. When that's pumping through the veins, you can do things that you sometimes thought you couldn't.
60.
Four, not 5.
100.
Well, 4 into a 9. This is his first appearance on a stream on TV, so that'll
100.
be pumping the adrenaline, no question.
You think about the 9 darters we've had in this tournament over the years. Who's the
57.
least expected person who's had one? And I'd probably have to say either Sebastian Białecki from 2021 or Jitse van der
42.
Vaart
You require 160.
2021. And funnily enough, Białecki was in that match. He was involved in both 9 darters.
28.
Like the younger version of James Wade, just seems to attract 9 darters, whether it's him or the opponent.
We've had a couple from Michael van Gerwen.
96.
We've had
Christopher, you
loads from
require
Phil Taylor, and at one point he was the
136.
only person who fit a 9 darter because he got 4 out of 4 from
56.
2004 all the way through to 2008 until Mervyn King stopped that streak in 2010 against Gary Anderson, ultimately in a game that he would lose.
137.
Matt Campbell
you
might lose this if
require
he doesn't
80.
pick himself up, because Christopher Holt to go 3-0 up. Double 10. He's hit double 5 before.
75.
Doesn't hit it again.
Matt, you require 66.
He's gone for the bull. That's a happy accident because now he's got a shot. Oh, he hasn't got a shot. Matthew Campbell. What a big mistake.
49.
That was what you'd call a
Christopher, you
range
require
dart, the
5.
last one.
That one was possibly on fire.
Like the hair on the back of his shirt.
No score.
But he's got another chance
That he
because
requires
Holt can't
17.
take out 5. An awkward finish. Awkward potentially for Matt.
9 score.
I really do think that this game has gone too
Christopher,
quick for
you
Matt Campbell.
require
I think
5.
Holt is playing very comfortably at this pace. And he's drawing Campbell into the game that he's comfortable with.
Christopher Holt.
But it's Holt who's at the halfway point. Campbell yet to score.
3 legs in, I really like Christopher Holt. I like what I'm
100.
seeing. He's a jack-in-the-box kind of dart player.
Looks like the kind of player that could walk 500 miles and
20.
not think too much about it.
Well, he's very much the modern breed of dart player. They're not...
You didn't quite get that reference, did you? Because he looks a little bit like one of the Proclaimer twins.
40.
I know who they are. That's as good as it gets.
It would be even funnier if he was playing against Robert Thornton, but he's not because the former champion's not in this tournament.
40.
Please tell me his nickname isn't Holty.
It needs work, doesn't it?
It needs a lot of...
83.
Come on, Christopher. Listen to us. Holty's not going to cut it. If you're going to get through challenges like this and get yourself into the 3rd or 4th round of a UK Open, you need a better nickname than that.
What's your favourite nickname out of all time in
Frosty
darts?
the Throw Man.
I was going to say the same.
100.
Everybody says it because it is the best. I think a good nickname for him would be Who Goes
82.
There?
Matt, you
Holt,
require
who goes...
78.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
You're too cultured for me, Paul.
38.
Just try and think of something a bit different. I mean, even the Ginger Ninja, I mean, there are 2 of them. There's a
90.
good player from Northern Ireland called
Matt,
Chris
you
Gilliland,
require
who's also
40.
called the Ginger Ninja. But is Campbell getting off the mark? Is he getting off the mark?
No score.
Now the question's different. Is
Christopher,
Holt
you
4-0
require
up?
72.
Well, even at this stage of proceedings, it looks like one of those annoying, frustrating days for Matt Campbell. Well, 18.
54.
He's not only
You
fast,
require
he's a bit erratic in his thinking.
Game shown the
And
fourth
finally,
leg.
Campbell gets his
Matt
first
Campbell.
double.
Fifth leg, Christopher to throw first.
It could have been so much
Game on.
worse.
Well, Matt Campbell made his debut in the UK Open last year. He lost to, and we've seen previously, Sebastian Białecki, who did go on to reach the quarterfinal, so no disgrace in that. The next step for him will be to try and get into more of the TV majors. He's got a very good floor game, Matt Campbell. Maybe try and have a pop at the match play, the Grand Prix, Grand Slam with the 8-player qualifier if that format is retained. That's a good option for him.
97.
But right now, this game has been all about the man in your screen, Christopher Holt.
60.
Since you've mentioned that wrist, I now can't stop looking at it.
It's
It's
a bit like the
weird.
sun. Don't look directly at it.
98.
That's just the coach in me, you see, Dan. These are the things I look at. I look at shoulder position, elbow position, wrist snap, as we call it.
35.
Even Michael van Gerwen has got a very flexible right wrist, but when he delivers the dart, the wrist goes over and then it recoils in a somewhat elasticated way. It doesn't stay hyperextended like Christopher's does. Michael's just rebounds immediately, which is a lot
65.
healthier.
Matt, you require 164.
Fair to say that,
64.
yes, Campbell has missed a fair few
Christopher,
doubles
you
in this
require
match,
96.
but Holt has been there a lot of the time. Double 8.
80.
He's that far away
Matt,
from
you
a
require
4-1 lead.
100.
He's one of those spotter's nightmare players, I think. Tops now for Campbell.
Game shown the fifth leg. Matt Campbell.
Hits it.
6 legs.
3-2.
Matt to throw first. Game on.
It is 3-2. And yes, we are in new digs here at Minehead. So much so that we've just had Steve Beaton walk into our commentary box asking us
60.
where the toilet is. Great things happen at Minehead. That's the highlight of my day there, Dan.
Yeah, everything might be new at
59.
Minehead, but Steve Beaton's still here. He's still knocking around the place.
Ever present in the UK Open, Steve Beaton. He hasn't missed one since 2003 when it began. And only 2 players can say that now. James Wade and Steve Beaton. Just to give you an indication of what we have got coming up.
96.
Steve Beaton's going to be on this board, so you don't need more of an invitation to stay on board too than that.
He'll be playing the winner of Connor Scott and Jimi Hendrix. That game going
81.
on the main stage. That'll be our penultimate offering of the afternoon. We've got some really good games
44.
coming up from round 3 as well. Florian Hempel and Jamie Hughes. Hughes has reached the Pro Tour final already this year, and Florian Hempel, we know, brings a lot of talent. And then we've
40.
got the mercurial Boris Krčmar against another mercurial player in Jermaine Watamina. That could be brilliant or a bit of a slugfest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be brilliant. that game.
126.
Scott Williams coming up.
He's a player that you want to pay to watch.
Oh, I wonder if the shoes are coming out today. He might save the yellow shoes for later in the tournament if he gets through, but he might catch fire today.
Tight trousers, I think. Scott Williams, spray paint. Well, Matt Campbell, after a poor start to this game, is beginning to reel Christopher Holt in. He's starting to spray darts a bit too much. Tops to make it 3 apiece.
60.
He's definitely starting to boss the rhythm of this game a little bit more, is Matt. He's taking his time over his shots, whereas he was rushing them earlier, but he's in trouble
83.
if that bullseye had gone in, but now it's an
require
equalising
20.
chance.
Great marker. Oh,
Is he genuinely going for the top bin here? That would have been a worldy dart. That second one is skewed to his left.
43.
Caused him a lot of problems. Double top. And it's the wrong bed. I know he likes green,
Matt, you require
but that was the
20.
wrong green.
Game shot in the
Erratic
sixth
from
leg.
Holt.
Matt Campbell.
Fantastic
Seventh
from
leg.
Campbell.
Christopher
3
to
apiece
throw
now.
first. Game on.
The averages in this game
One
are not jumping
runner,
off the page. Both
Fulton.
of them 75. It's going to be won the hard way by whoever gets through.
Sometimes if you're playing your first game of the day like Matt Campbell is,
80.
this is what you have to do. You've got to do it the hard way. It's just about being in the hat for Friday night. And that's something that Christopher Holt desperately wants. He'd love a crack at a big name, but then again, he's playing a big name.
100.
We're talking about someone who has won CDC tournaments in North America, has represented his country.
30.
He's a big name. Don't be thinking about your MVGs, your Prices and your Wrights and your Michael Smiths. Don't be thinking that you're going to come through against Matt Campbell. He's a tough draw.
151.
Well, you mentioned the word when we were watching Van Dongen as Holt goes for 151. Flag bearer. We've had John Part as the flag bearer of Canadian darts. Matt Campbell could be
91.
taking that mantle over.
Yeah, with Jeff Smith, good pal of his. He's travelled with him. They've played brilliantly together at the World Cup.
36. Christopher, you require
The only
60.
thing better than being the flag bearer is having some assistance with it. Double 10 again.
Game
And this
shot
time he
in the
doesn't get it
seventh
wrong.
leg. Christopher Holt.
Now
eighth
has
leg
the lead
next to
for the
throw
second time in this contest.
There's just no pause for thought where Holt's concerned,
40.
which is ironic. He doesn't halt in his thinking.
Just got a result through from board number 8. Dylan
58.
Slevin, the left-hander from Ireland, is through against Sean Wilkinson, averaging almost 94. Talk about talent. He made a quarter-final in his first weekend as a Pro Tour card holder.
100.
Yeah, there's a lot of good young players coming from Ireland these days. Thomas Banks, the other 16-year-old we were talking about, taking a 14 darter in the first leg against Graham Hall. Dan Reid 5-4 up on Brian Roman. George Killington 4-0 up on Jitse van der Wijk.
One runner.
Another Klassen who won on the main stage. He's taken the first leg against Ricardo Pietreczko.
95.
The noodle is out. Brian Roman is gone. And Dan Reid, who was in a bit of trouble earlier in a different match,
45.
he's starting to make his presence felt. Klassen and Pietreczko just starting off now on board 6.
60.
That's an interesting one because here on stage 2 we could potentially see one of those against Scott Williams in the final match of the afternoon. God, can you imagine?
One runner.
Williams against
17.
Klassen. How quick that would be.
Well, you have to think about
74.
that, and he does. He was 154, but Matt Campbell to restore parity again.
Matt, you require 59.
Just wanted to be doubly sure as to what he had before he went for it. That's experience.
Game
And there
shot
he
in
gets the
eighth
execution
leg.
as well.
Matt Campbell.
4-4.
Right leg, Christopher
Now
throw
we're going to see
first.
what Christopher
Game
Holt
on.
is made of. But he does have the darts in possibly 2 of the last 3 legs.
46. 57.
Goes without saying, I think, that whoever gets through
96.
will have to play a lot better against Jeff Smith. He's about as steady a pro as it's possible to get. Not a massive maximum hitter or anything like
One
that.
runner,
But 1 or 2
40.
single visits usually come with him. So whoever wins, it's just a case of tick it off.
But is it an advantage having games in the bank that afternoon? You'd have to ask the person who potentially plays against him.
44.
I actually think that if Campbell comes through this game somehow, it's an awful draw for both of them.
45.
Maybe Christopher Holt could be the spoiler in this section of the draw. And he has got the chance of getting himself to the lead for the 3rd time in this match.
82. Christopher, you require 134.
He does have time on his side, so he doesn't have to go the 17s or 18s route here. He can leave himself handily placed on tops. Well, he's not going to do that.
22.
If that was on purpose, I've no idea why. I've been around this game a long time, but going treble 14 for double 6, that can't have been on purpose.
Christopher, you require 12.
It could be a happy accident.
6 score.
But it's not.
Matt, you require
It's
92.
a chance for Campbell to break before potentially the last leg of the game.
Double-double maybe. He's looking south at 19s. He gave it a go.
52.
He wasn't defensive on that shot. I think that was the right play.
You require 6.
But next door neighbour wasn't home, so double 1.
4 score.
It was a bit hopeful from Holt,
Matt, you
and
require
Campbell can take the lead for the first time in the whole match right here.
Game shot on the 9th leg. Matt Campbell,
Campbell, one leg away from victory.
Game on.
Doesn't even look like he fancied celebrating that. Almost a puff of the cheeks, and we go again.
100.
Interestingly enough, this game has been frenetic. That's the best word that I can think of in the English language to describe it. The next game we've got won't be,
55.
because you're going to have Daniel Klose against Mario van der Bregade. A bit of a hipster game. Germany against Belgium, but it's a bit more methodical.
77.
It's a very Euro Tour game in the UK Open.
Yeah, it's a bit of an ABBA game.
60.
Just slightly older than some of the younger players that we've seen. A bit slower paced, but nice.
Still retain the class.
Yeah, it's a classy game. It's a classy visit. Unfortunately, to get to a finish, he needed 4 darts, and you don't get more than 3 per visit.
I have no idea where Christopher Holt's going to be in the world of darts in 10 years' time.
I don't know where he's going to be in 10 days' time. But in about 10 seconds, he might be out of the UK Open.
You require 48.
There should be a regulation finish for Matt Campbell. Sure, he wanted 16s, but he goes for tops. And now double 10. And Matt Campbell seals what was an uncomfortable victory. He shakes his head. Christopher Holt certainly provided some entertainment during that one. All too often, he was erratic in his scoring and his doubling. But Matt Campbell now sets up a game against his compatriot, his good pal, Jeff Smith. They're a World Cup partnership, but they'll be doing battle against one another in round 3. Stick around, because coming up next, we've got Daniel Klose against Mario van der Bregade.